Iran is the most diverse country in the region, a multinational state that is comprised of 6 major nationalities, including Arabs, Baluchis, Kurds, Persian, Turks, Turkmen, and smaller groups of other ethnic and linguistic and tribal groups. No one ethnic group has a numerical majority, yet every group is a majority in its own land. Iran is also home to Sunnis, Christians, Jews, Baha'is, Mandanis, and others. These ethnic and religious groups comprise at least 50 and by estimate 2/3 of the population. Yet these groups are not being officially recognized. They have not been accorded equal citizenship. Their ethnicity or their religion are not being officially acknowledged at all. It is also believed that 1/3 of the population is Sunni. But Persian language is the sole official language of the state, and Shia Jafari is the sole officially sanctioned religion of the state. All others are ignored, oppressed, neglected, or at best are marginalized. An Iranian Shia and a Fars by default have been positioned in a great advantage and dominance. Using Shia theology and Persian literature, history, language, and education, the system strategically and deliberately privileges one ethnic group over the other, thus creating a socioeconomic inequality, exclusion, and oppression, thereby stifling any chance of democratic transformation. Promoting aggressive nationalism in Iran oftentimes manifests itself in anti-Arab racism, and particularly against the Ahwazi Arab nation. Ahwazi Arab nation reside in the southwest of Iran, in the province of Khuzestan, or as it called by indigenous people, the Iqlim al-Ahwaz or Arabistan. Ahwazi Arabs are ethnic, national, and linguistic minority in Iran. They are caught between an unfortunate phenomenon. They are subject to racism due to the historical Arab-Persian animosity. Ahwazi Arabs have been one of the excluded constituent nationality and socioeconomically among the most oppressed and ranked at the bottom. They estimated to be 5 to 7 million people, or 10% of the population. The regime changed the Arab names to Persian names to deny the Arab identity of our nation. Ahwazi Arab historical land constitute 90% of Iranian oil and GDP, yet the Ahwazi Arab live in abject poverty. Okay, now that I presented our nation, let's look what the United Nations and the international community has to offer to this marginalized nation and others. What is the crisis management or preventative tools that the United Nations offers or promises to such people? Obviously, the right of self-determination is one. In the UN literature, right to self-determination defined as the right of a particular group of people to freely determine and control their political, economic, and socio-cultural destinies. So we do support this measure, but how is it being implemented? And in absence of our representation as our people, we do not recognize the Islamic Republic of Iran as represented as in the UN. So what is it are we supposed to do? They tell us avoid violence, right? Okay, we got it. And no armed struggle. Here we are. What is the self-determination? Okay, self-determination, as I said, it's been since 1960, Article 1514, it says that all peoples are entitled to self-determination. But is it given? Is it really clear that the UN will give that right? Now, in all UN other articles, ICCPR and OSCE and General Resolution 1970, they all talk about people are entitled, but they never define who are the people, okay? So some legal scholars say this is deliberately ambiguous, okay, because United Nations is a gathering of countries, not nations. Therefore, they are against the changing of the borders. We got it, okay. But also, there is a report in 1998 by UN in Barcelona. They talk about two types of self-determination, external and internal. We got it. External, that means independence. UN is against it. But there is a definition of internal self-determination. And that's where I think the UN should be more clear to offer these two people. And the internal determination meant the right to decide the identity and the form of governing body by the whole population of a state, and the right of a particular group within the state to participate in decision-making at the state level, and the right to exercise cultural, linguistic, religious, and political autonomy within the boundaries of the existing state. It says that politically, internal self-determination can take the form of participatory democracy, federalism, confederalism, local government within the existing state. So my question is that why is it that the UN is not clear about this at least? This is not total independence. But as I read, probably most marginalized people would go with that option, okay? So our people are considered a minority and indigenous, so we really fall within this. But the concept of self-determination is problematically rigid in the UN. And it requires the consent of the state. But yet, these are the very states that oppress us. Obviously, they don't give a consent. So what's the resolution? It says that this nation has to prove that there is a flagrant or serious human rights violation. Well, in our nation, we can submit that we are under ethnic cleansing, cultural genocide. They took our land, they changed our land, and we are oppressed. So then what is the solution? If not going and fighting on the ground, are we being offered the internal self-determination? The Iranian government and the dominant nationality Persians say that is the beginning of balkanization of Iran. That is the beginning of separatism, secessionism. So you see, you can't win. You cannot have external self-determination and internal self-determination. They say you are preparing yourself for secessionism. And so we believe that the devolution of power in Iran and other countries is the answer. The least is for our people, and as Baban said, for the Kurds, the Baluchis, the Turkmen, the Azerbaijanis who are non-dominant in Iran. We think federalism and regional autonomy would enable our people and other people to control our own affairs, protect our land, and exercise our cultural rights. So in absence of such transformation, increased oppression, continued social and economic marginalization of Ahwazi Arab will generate the kind of extremist backlash that we can see in Iraq, in Syria, in other countries. So if there is a true desire to listen to the people are asking for a solution. So in conclusion, by implementation of internal self-determination, which by the way, it avoids changing of the borders, the so-called international community is very sensitive about. So we think in Iran or any other repressive multinational state, would mean an arrangement where a voluntary association of all national group constituencies in Iran, in which they have the opportunity to develop their respective culture, languages, histories, economies, and homeland under an appropriate manifestation of sovereignty, federal, confederal, and so on. May be an interim solution as a crisis management solution to prevent such crises that we have in the Middle East. Thank you.
Thanks to you, Doctor. Thanks for your perfect time. Well, at this time where international law is written, international law that you have analyzed, international law that is, for example, quoted here at the concept now of this panel, I think we need to remember that international law is also based in shared values, in moral values. And one actor that is a legitimate bearer of these moral values are women and human rights women activists. So I give the floor to the only lady in our panel. So please, so Maymad Desla.
Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of the panelists. I am here representing the people of Western Sahara. Western Sahara is the only last colony in Africa. It's one of the 16 territories that are recognized by United Nations as non-self-governing territories. So we are concerned by the resolution 1514 of the United Nations that give us the right to choose or right to self-determination. So we are here to speak about the question of Western Sahara. Please, can you put the video without the sound? We, the Sahrawis, we have been subjected to centuries of occupation, and these centuries began with Portugal and Spain, Spain unfortunately has made a very bad decolonization process, and they just divided our territory as it was a piece of cake between our neighbors, Morocco and from the north and Mauritania from the south.